So as I mentioned in the last video, we were going to go ahead and start inking the perspective after getting the line work with the pencil and everything done. So I've got a selection of different pens here. A couple of them are brush type pens, then regular ballpoint, and then a just generic Sharpie to go ahead and do the inking with. So nothing really fancy, but enough to get some more contrast than what the graphite is providing with the pencil. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of the brush pens here and start working with the trees at the back. And so just coming through and just kind of going right over the pencil lines and kind of working to build some of this up. I'm still kind of undecided about going for any more texture on the trees or not as far as the background. So still just trying to keep things kind of loose. All right, and now for the bottom part, we're going to do a little bit differently. So I'm going to use a Sharpie for this one. And what I want to do here is I want to bring in the sort of shading and shadowing that's occurring under the trees. And so some of that at the bottom that you can see is kind of jittering. So trying to make sure that translates with the Sharpie here so it looks like the edge of a forest and things. All right. And then the next blow part goes out of the screen here. All right, so there's that. Now, one thing I can go ahead and do just to make it a little bit easier on me a bit later is go ahead and do parts of these trees here. All right, and I'll come back with the rest of them with the other pins in just a minute. Now I do have this sign up here at the top. And so I'll go ahead and just do some pin work with it. And I think actually I'll come back with a Sharpie with that one, just kind of thicken that up. And so as I'm doing this, and then I'm gonna come back with a thinner pen and just put some texture here. And so I want it to kind of be circular, but I want to kind of break it up. Kind of make it wavy, like it's got the sort of heat and stuff coming off of it. Go ahead and do some more there. All right, so there's that. Now for the trees, let's go ahead and get these at the back. Right. So there's that one. I'm going to go add another branch out through here now. For these, I just put some dots around the top. It's like to hint at maybe some loose foliage here. And again, just kind of keeping it very loose. All right, so nothing really dense. Now the sort of pine conifer tree here. Think about some of the spruces and things like that. Go through and just go over this. And so all of this, I'm just kind of going over the pencil. directly. Obviously, if you have more graphite down, it might make the pen a little bit harder to deal with. Go ahead and put some darker edges in here and catch part of the shadow at the bottom. Now, the pyramid, I'm going to come up that side with the Sharpie, and I'm also going to come across the bottom, since this is some of the darker sides. We'll actually go ahead and catch this one too. All right. Just kind of thinking about where I'm using these darker ones. All right. So there's that, and then this hole. Go ahead and kind of emphasize the chunks of it. And then, of course, the inside is going to be dark as well. I'll have these be in shadow completely. Probably need a bigger Sharpie for this one, but all right. Go ahead and do that part as well. So there's the hole. And of course this one is here as well. So go ahead and catch it. Now, the main part of the hole will be the deepest part, or darkest part, I should say. Also the deepest. So I go ahead and just kind of shade that in. And come back, make sure I kind of pick up the lines there. And over here on this door, go ahead and pick that up. All right, so that should be the main parts for the figure. And that already looks better on screen than just the graphite. All right, so I come through, go ahead and ink these. Now, I used a straight edge when I was using the graphite. So as I go back over with ink, I'm just going to freehand it so it gets a little more personable look to it. Don't want it to look quite so stark and drafted. All right, now with the pyramid section here, one thing I want to do is I want to go through, start getting some texture. So at least on the one side, I'm going to go ahead and just go through with a bunch of dots and do some stippling. So this part, takes a minute. But just enough to get some texture on it. Really don't want to darken up the side too much more as far as putting big shadows or anything on it. So there's that. All right, so there's that side done. Now for this side, I'm just going to put just a few pieces, a few dots here and there, and just call that done. Now, I've got the edge of this hole here. And I'm just going to use some vertical lines with this one just to let that sort of dictate what it's going to look like. Put the plant in here, put the flower in there. All right. And so all of my buildings here are just about done. All my little effects are done. Just got to finish this one up. All right. Now, the texture here, I want to use the very tip and just keep it very light. And just try to put sort of what you might think of as a sort of rough brick look to it. Now, on the inside here with this path, actually, I'm going to change ends for that one so it doesn't quite get so thick. I don't want that tip flexing on me if it can help it. Let these kind of go all the way up to the edge. All right, so there's that one. All right, now get a different brush pen here. Slightly different tip on it. Now for all my ground plane here. So all of these will be different. Use a little bit different tip than what I've used on some of the others. All right, so you see this one actually, it flexes out a little bit more. Gives me a little bit more of a brush effect. Shouldn't have just part of the tree, you can't see that well, but all right. So what I can do here is start going through and just catching some of these lines here. And then I'm using a triangle here to do these. Because these become very important to be straight. So as I do them, I don't want them to get too wobbly or anything like that. Of course, I got like a little shadow here on my straight edge, which always makes it hard to line everything up again. All right. Make sure I had that one right there kind of come through. All right, just a few more here on this part. It looks like about one more. All right, now most of the rest of these that I do are going to be the back horizontal pieces. All right, and again, remember on these that they're closer together, the closer they are to the horizon line. And so as I get closer to the front, make sure that these drop down start spreading out some more. All right, a little bit more here. All right, so there's some inking there. And if I wanted to, I could go back with an eraser and kind of clean up some of this and kind of make sure all the lines and stuff are where I want them. All right, so there's the tree there. All right, so, and then, you know, I can just take a pen now and kind of come through, and if I want to do some dots here and there, I can go back and, you know, maybe put some little spots of grass here and there just to give it a little bit more interest. And if you wanted to, you can go back and do some texture in the areas there. Now, that was the main parts. Now, this with the shadows. I'm going to do those. Just going to come in and freehand those in a little bit. In this case, I'm just going to use just some plate hatching. Come back up against the pyramid. Do that. Okay, and then the same thing for this. I know that this shadow established kind of came out as well. Now, if I'm doing it like this, it's kind of important to make sure by the time I get to the other side, that is following this other line. All right. So there is the shading. And then again, something like this, you can leave the back trees back here plain. You can do some hatching to them. For this one, I'm going to leave them plain. Every now and then I might go through and pull out some individual parts and do some different shading and stuff with some hatching. But this is the sort of pen and ink overlay for the graphite one-point perspective earlier. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll go back now and clean this up, and then the next video will actually be putting some color on this. So thank you for watching.